housekeepers.
Everybody ready in the back? Yeah. All right, go, Cease.
So you can play good defense.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Shot clock. How do you score? I know you talked about last night about getting good shots, but it's getting down to, do you do different plays, but how do you score? It's simple.
Yeah, ball's got to go in the hole. We got to keep trusting the process. We got some really good looks. Didn't go in. Some of that's the people we're playing. They're affecting our shots. And some of that is, you see ghosts for so long, and then when you don't, you're still rushing your shots. So again, it's just something we've got to continue to stay with and trust and practice. We try to put them in that situation as much as possible where our players are getting shots out of our offense, where they are in a rhythm and know what that's going to look like and feel like. So that's the best summary. We're figuring out how to defend. We're getting the right looks. We're starting to execute our stuff. Now we've got to see the ball go in the hole.
How much is that confidence? Because like early in the year when you had Barker, it seemed like, she was leading the team to score, but your team seemed to look and outside looking, had confidence when she was in there or whatever. But now, unless Patty goes off, you don't really have that go-to person.
Well, that's why you need more than one player, right? That's why you need multiple players on the floor, because without Janiyah on the floor, who can create a shot for herself and other people, without Tanea on the floor, who can create a shot for herself and other people, it gets really tight in there. So now they can sit on Sydney's toes and take away the three and make her shots really tough. They can crowd Patty and Jada in the paint and make it really tough. And so it's why it's so important that you guys have multiple threats, on the floor at the same time. And we're just limited there right now.
How are you hoping your team responds after such a big loss?
You know what? I'm very proud of our team. We did really, really good things last night. Again, it goes back to how do we measure success in our locker room? And the conversation was they averaged 94 a game. We need to hold them to at least 20 under their average, and we held them to 18 under their average. That first quarter was the lowest first quarter LSU's had all year. That first half was the lowest point total they've had all year long. That's how we're measuring our success in those areas. And then from a film standpoint, it's offensively, hey, look at this shot. That's great execution. We just got to knock it down. So we did some really good things. They fought. They played hard. They kept fighting when they could have laid down. So we're obviously, again, not happy with the outcome of the score, but we are building and moving in the right direction, and they're staying positive, and that's what we're concerned about.
You spoke a little bit about it last night, but it really seems like you guys have this trial by fire. And I know that you could say that probably about the whole entire SEC schedule, but how important is it that you guys have played teams like LSU, like South Carolina early on?
I think it's great. Again, a lot of people jokingly said, what did you do to the SEC office when the schedule came out? And I'm like, I'm happy about our schedule, right? You play number 1 and number 7 the first 3 games. Let's go, right? We measure ourselves against the very best, and now we know what that feels like. And we got better from South Carolina to Florida. We got better from Florida to LSU. Hopefully we get better from LSU to Ole Miss, which is going to present its own challenges, and how they play and as good as they are. So, again, this is going to be a year of going through in terms of playing in this conference, learning how to win and compete in this conference. And as long as we're moving that needle and pushing that in the right direction, I'm happy with their effort and what they're doing.
After a game like that, where the scoreboard says what it does, what is the trip home like, and what is said and what is done in the immediate hours to make sure that doesn't linger and carry over into this weekend?
Yeah, we buttoned it up really quickly in the locker room afterwards, and I told them, guys, I'm proud of you. And I don't blow smoke, so if I wasn't, I wouldn't have said it. Really proud of their effort. We find out the day before the day of the game, we're traveling, that Sahara Jones is not going to play. And so we literally take Irony and throw her into the 4 spot in a walkthrough at LSU. And so for her to, again, they just continue to accept whatever challenge that is put in front of them. And that's what we're building, is toughness and mental toughness and fight and grit. And I'm super proud of that. So, we talked about those things. We talked about some of the things I told you guys in terms of how we were able to, defend and be stingy against a really, really, really talented LSU team. And that's what we're going to build on.
What's the challenge of Ole Miss? What do they do well? Because they probably won Oklahoma. They'd be almost probably nationally ranked, but they're not. But what's the challenge? What do they do well?
They're experienced. They're confident. They're super athletic and long. They're going to press us, the entire game, and they're really stingy with their defense. They pride themselves on being a really, really good defensive team. I think they're number 4 in our conference in terms of defensive field goal percentage and just not giving up easy things. And then they spread you out on offense. They're really talented in their guard play, and they've got Madison Scott, who's been an anchor for them inside, and she just continues to get better every single year. So again, we're going to have our hands full.
They won at Mississippi State, which was kind of a big game. When
Yeah.
you look at the rivalry game, was that defense? When you look at that film, was that the main reason they won that game?
Well, I think it's just that it shows the maturity that they have and the confidence that Yo has given them. They were down that game. Mississippi State jumped up really big and they were down, and that just shows where they've grown in terms of their maturity, that they could be in a hostile environment and figure out a way to come back and win that game. They have players who can make some big time plays and who can, when they get going, score in bunches, and then that's what happened.
What's the process like of just growing and developing through the course of the league in terms of, when you're playing especially high caliber teams? I know most recently South Carolina, LSU, when, you're kind of going back and forth for a little bit and then they get on their roll, to just being able to kind of reset, regroup yourself and kind of get back to what was kind of working early.
I think that's the conversation is there. Most of the time when that happens, we've allowed them to get to plan A. And we continually talk about we've got to force teams into plan B. And, we played LSU really tight in the first quarter. And again, a good team is going to bow their back and respond. And that's what happened. They got out, they got a few steals, took some bad shots, which led to transition offense for them and easy buckets. And then you look up and the score is 13-6. The score is 15-6. And, we are learning how, and hopefully we are learning how to respond to those moments, but you can't give good teams, that type of momentum and cushion. It's just hard to recover from it.
Getting back to the scoring thing, Bowles has shown potential to be that go-to
Yeah.
player, and she didn't do well the first half, but then played awful good the second half. What does she have to do to consistently take that next step, so to speak?
I think it's just continue to get shots. She's playing 40 minutes a game and 38 minutes a game, which is something she's not used to. So, hopefully for her, as she continues to learn to take on those minutes, and not only that, we're now with Sahara being out, putting her on our best guard defender. So she's getting taxed on both ends of the floor in a way that she's never seen before. And so I think for her, Sydney's a really smart kid, and she understands the long game. She's like, man, by the time I'm a junior, by the time this time next year, all the experience she's getting, and she also understands that even if I'm not making shots, me being on the floor opens things up for my teammates because they're going to stand on my toes. So hopefully it opens up a passing lane for our other guards, or it allows Patty or Jada to get the ball inside because they're not going to help off me. And when they do, be ready. She didn't shoot it well the first half. She kept shooting it, shoot. And then the second half, it went in. So, yes, we would love for Sydney to be able to have a complete game. I think she would too, but I also think she's really mature for a freshman, and she understands, her value and that it's going to come.
You mentioned Sahara. Do you guys expect her available Sunday or not?
No.
Okay, you also said at one point, I guess bring it back up, when does Barker, you talked about maybe a red shirt if she can't come back by a certain time, and I know you're getting in a couple of weeks now to SEC. Where's that status at?
We're still week to week with her. So, she's progressing in the right way. And I think maybe every 6 or 7 days, don't quote me on that, they redo a CAT scan to see where she is. And the doctors are really happy with her progress. It's just not completely healed. So right now our conversation is still when she comes back, when she comes back. And that's what her conversation is.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
7-0.
Oh, we'll be 7 on Sunday.
Wow, okay.
We'll be 7 on Sunday.